probably all know. Thank you, Shauna. I always forget to record. They hired a consultant, Y2K, to study the problem that they had identified in conjunction with the neighbors that attended meetings for cut-through traffic and some safety issues. The plan was tested, as you all know, in February and March of this year. And what we're going to talk about are the results of the voting after that testing. And I'm going to try and advance the slide here. Okay, so here's the agenda for today. Some quick introductions and explanation of how we did the voting results, and then we'll open it up to you all for questions. So with us today, we have Keith Burke. Keith is the Deputy City Manager over our area. We have Shelley Seiler. Shelley is the Deputy in our department that is over transportation. We have Shauna Werner. She's a Neighborhood Services Manager. And we have Kathy Hollow, our Traffic Engineer. Ellie Volson, she's also with transportation. And presenting the bulk of the stuff today is going to be Herman Piedrahita. You all probably remember him from previous meetings, and his name's been on all those signs that you see and all the postcards. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so eligibility. We did hear from some of you that you were disappointed that you did not get to weigh in officially. It was determined early on in this process that it was initiated by the 3 neighborhoods and that the actual votes would be counted only from those folks within the project area. We did, however, take into account everything we heard from everyone, even those outside of the area, and all those comments were presented to the City Council in a summary report. And Herman, do you want to go over real quickly what the options were that we were voting on?
Yes, thank you. So as Laura said, short recap, there were 3 options, 3 alternatives. The first one we called the hybrid alternative, which was generally the original plan with the exception of 2 diagonal diverters, which essentially failed by shifting traffic onto the adjacent alleys and also removing the star diverter, which the results were inconclusive whether it worked or not for reducing cut through. Next slide, please. The second alternative was what we call traffic calming. It introduced splitter islands, bulb outs, some medians, 2-way chokers, essentially adding friction to the streets in hopes of reducing the cut-through traffic. And this was also developed from the data that we collected during the testing. And the next one is alternative 3, which was the no build current condition. Not a lot to say about that one. Next, so these are the voting totals. We received a total of 633 votes. Of those 637 votes, 108 were from outside the area, and that left us with a total of 529 votes. Of those 529 votes, we were not able to verify 91 votes.
17%, yeah.
Yeah, 17%, exactly. In the end, those that we were not able to verify whether they were in the area or outside followed the same percentages of the results, so they did not affect the result. And so basically the no build alternative received 60% of the vote, 63% when all the votes are counted, and alternative 1 and alternative 2 were close to 20% each. As you can see, 16 to 17% for the hybrid and 21 to 23% for the traffic mitigation or traffic calming. That's next slide, please.
Why don't we take questions here at this point before we go on to the next slide? Would anyone like to either raise their hand or unmute themselves and ask a question at this point? Okay, if not, we can go on to the next slide.
So when we looked at the voting results, we did see some areas where there was agreement or desire for some change. And basically what we're proposing at this point is following, you can follow the traffic calming alternative, but what am I saying? You can still move forward with neighborhood grants and use them towards traffic calming for areas in which the neighbors are in agreement of that change.
Yeah, we would still go through an additional outreach process if a neighborhood wanted to bring forth a measure such as what you're seeing here on the screen, whether it be speed humps or a bulb out, painted intersection, any of those sorts of things. So we wouldn't just do that automatically, but we would follow the guidelines of the traffic mitigation guide.
Looks like we got a question whether there are road closures. Not at this point. The alternative that received the most votes was the no build. So there are no road closures, but also no diverters and no traffic calming devices that came out of the project, or will come out of the project.
Anyone else? Any questions? Comments?
Am I unmuted?
David, you are. Go ahead.
I don't know if this is appropriate time, and you can tell me to delay it. But if you go to the first page of the link to the traffic calming mitigation on the internet, what I found disturbing was I don't know if you can do that if you went to.
I'll try.
Okay. What I found disturbing was the flow chart. I don't know if you call it a flow chart, but it almost seemed like a train that left the station in this project was, there wasn't a flow chart I'm familiar with. And I don't know if you could just go to Tempe.
I'm going there. Hang on.
Okay.
Give me a minute. This one? Yeah,
Well,
I have the new share. Hang on. Sorry, I have too many screens here. There we go.
Okay, yes, this is that. What do you call that with the dates on it, etc.? And to me, I just want to know where this created a lot of. I'm trying to think of the proper wording here, but it was almost like there's nothing to. Right now, we're having a discussion on votes, but this almost seemed like the next step would be bidding. In other words, I hope staff can know where a lot of people were upset. It was almost like this. We're going in a direction that is not on this graphical display or flow chart right now, where I would see if it was a computer flow chart, yes, no, there's a vote, and then you go down or across.
I hear what you're saying, David. I guess we should have had an asterisk maybe here on June 2022 that said if recommended for construction.
Yeah, just want. I mean, that's where it created a lot of.
Gotcha.
I
thought we made that fairly clear in meetings and such, but I understand your comment. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me pop in with that. I'll mute myself. Thank you very much.
You bet. Anyone else?
Could we get a bit more detail on the vote counting methodology?
Yes, absolutely. So we really kept it simple. Even though we did use a ranking system, but what we basically did was isolate all the first choice votes. And that's what you see represented in those pie charts.
So sorry if I'm understanding correctly, a
Mhm.
ranking system was not used then. It was presented as such, but then it was merely the top choice votes.
Yes, what we found was that a lot of people did not rank. They were just choosing one option. So we felt that that really wasn't going to give us an accurate view. And when we looked at it actually in a number of different ways, it really didn't change the results considerably. So we felt pretty comfortable just going with the first choice that everyone had put down.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
You bet. Anybody?
Could you elaborate on what you said with what neighbors could apply for in the future? Could that be like another road closure, but only for on their street, or would it just be for additional traffic calming?
I think I'll let Kathy Hollow answer that one. Kathy, you want to unmute yourself?
Sure. As Herman and Laura suggested, you'd be following the traffic mitigation guide that the city has. And you'd have to get resident consensus before we would proceed. So, but you can certainly follow the process that's in the guide, and there's a number of examples in there for things that you might want to install. And yeah, so that's all I can say right now. I don't, I can't say for sure it would happen because I don't know what your neighbors would say. So, yeah, you do have to still get neighborhood consensus for the immediate area. So.
And Kathy, this is Shauna. I put a link to the guide in the chat. So if
Great.
everyone has access to that, then you can take a look at what's offered through that.
Thanks, Shauna. Does that answer the question?
Kind of. I guess I was just curious if a road closure would be possible with neighborhood consensus. Like if everyone on one particular street agrees that they want their road to be a cul-de-sac rather than a through street, can that be done through everyone voting that lives on that one particular street, or would it go to the greater neighborhood for voting?
Yeah, I think the way we did the manual is it's the immediate area. So we'd have to look at who's impacted, because there'll be people probably adjacent to your section that may be impacted as well. So tough to answer just without knowing exactly what area we're talking about. But and then of course we have to make sure it fits, right? That device will fit in the right of way that the city has. But if a neighborhood comes forward, a group comes forward and wants to go through the process, we're willing to work with them. So.
Thank you.
Anything else? I don't see anyone in the chat. Does anyone want to speak? You can unmute yourself at this point.
Hi, this is David Arcules again. Is it possible if someone does bring this, that we have a traffic circle that brought up and was installed without any of the four, this is when Mayor Hallman was in office, and the construction started on the traffic circle without anybody knowing. Is it possible? All four property owners on the intersection were unaware of that. Is it possible that, I mean, this, it seems you went out of your way to do notification on this, which was really great. But in the future, since you said there's other traffic calming, open for the future, is a good attempt going to be made at notification? Like you did an excellent attempt this time. I mean, I saw your documentation. You had postcards. You knocked on doors. You emailed, etc. But can we be assured that'll happen in the future? So this traffic circle issue that popped up suddenly, doesn't happen. This is going way back to, again, Mayor Hallman, where
Right.
the actual property owners were unaware of what was happening. And in the case of a street closure, you're talking about taking right away from, property, people's frontage. So that's my concern on that issue.
Yeah, we would never do anything without informing all the affected parties.
Okay, thank you. That makes me relax a little bit. Thank you. I'm going to go on mute.
Elizabeth, you want to?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I just want to let people know I live south of 13th, so I wasn't really involved in this study, although I was initially. But I just wanted to see if there's updates on the light at University and Ash about having 2 arrows for the southbound lanes coming north of University to force them to really turn right or left. I know when the last time I asked, they were saying that, they had to figure it out with the new streetcar. And so I was wondering if there were any updates to that. And secondly, any updates for any kind of traffic calming on 13th Street? Thanks.
So Elizabeth, I can jump in and start on that.
Okay.
I'm going to start with 13th first because that might be the more direct one. There are 2 speed cushion sites that are, Laura, about to be constructed. Are we getting close?
Yeah, we're getting
More.
close. Yes, we
More
have it
locations.
on the schedule. Yep.
And then your question about Ashen University, we just, as a matter of fact, did an update to the Transportation Commission on that intersection. And we are going to add we're going to start with trying to add some new striping to help. We're going to change out some of the signs. And then we are discussing some possible signal changes, and Ellie Velosin's on the line. She can chime in if she'd like, but it's just, we'll probably have to change out poles and things like that. So it's,
Yeah.
it's a little bit more than just switching out some signal heads. So Ellie, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Sure, just to add that when we put in an arrow, we have to basically be able to ensure the drivers that there is no conflicting traffic, and that includes pedestrians. So that's kind of one of the reasons we can't just go ahead and do it right away, is we have to make sure that pedestrian crossings never interfere with an arrow. So we'd have to significantly change the phasing there, which can be done, but as Kathy said, we would need new mast arms to fit all the different signal types we would need to provide.
Yeah, thank you. I realize it does create some complications, but I do feel, considering the results of the survey, that it would help to keep people from going straight through the light and then, going through the neighborhood without having to close any streets or anything like that. So that was my comment, and I thank you very much for addressing it.
Thank you for bringing it up. Appreciate that.
Joe, did you have a comment?
Yes, I did. Back to David's request on road closures. We went through a big public process, and one of the alternatives allowed diversions and road closures, which was probably the most egregious of that alternative. I would hope that using any grants, Marion Quarter grants or so forth, that the public process of notification and voting on a possible closure or diversion wouldn't be any less than what we went through with this process.
Yes.
So, that before there's any proposed closure or diversion, there would be a big public process involving all the neighborhoods involved.
I guess I can speak to that a little bit. So anytime there's anything proposed, traffic engineering will make a determination as to who would be consulted and the percentages of consent we would need. I don't know, Kathy, if you want to elaborate on that.
That's exactly what the manual says, Laura. It's a little tough to say how many people would be involved or anything like that right now without knowing the area. But yes, I think that between traffic engineering and neighborhood services working together, we'll make sure that there is a very strong public process before we install anything.
Sally?
Okay.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Sally, did you want to go next?
Yeah, thanks, Laura. So I understand people's distaste for the traffic closures and the diverters. I mean, we all know that testing devices were not very attractive. But I'm looking at the pictures on the slide that's up now, and also the pictures that were on the traffic calming slide. And I wondered why maybe possibilities like that weren't shared more with people during the process. Because I mean, I find these really beautiful ways to slow down traffic. I mean, I understand people didn't want to close the streets, but there are other ways, which was what the traffic calming measure tried to accomplish, other ways to slow down traffic and reduce cut through traffic. And I just hope, if anything, in the future, if we go through this process again, that maybe pictures like these that show, you know, beautiful options could be shared with people so they see what's outside of just what's sitting on the street during the testing period.
And I just want to say too, I just want to reiterate that speeding was not, when they did the study, was not, it was within normal limits.
Thank you for that.
Thanks, Laura. That was just something I was wondering, and someone did say they were shown at the initial meeting, but yeah, it's too bad we couldn't have more of a vision of what was possible besides just what we saw during the testing. So just maybe for future efforts. Thank you. Thanks for doing this too. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You know, I guess we could always do a better job of showing more examples. People definitely do understand a picture better than a diagram or a map. Anyone else wish to speak?
I'd like to thank everybody for working on this, and I know emotions ran high on this, and I appreciate everybody's efforts at the city, and thank you.
Thanks for that, David. Well, if that's all we have, I won't ask you all to stick around, but you can always contact us. There will be another meeting also tonight at the Graduate at, whoops, went too far, at 6 p.m. There's the contacts for Herman and myself, and we can certainly get you to other folks at the city if you have even more detailed questions. Thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you, Laura. And thanks, staff.
Thanks, Laura.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.